So gentlemen, let's get into it. We're going to put the current season on pause for just a moment. We had plans to do this win or lose for the Vikings. We are going to unleash Declan Goff. I don't know if it's going to be a weekly thing, but there's definitely a handful of quarterbacks and maybe even other things beyond quarterbacks. And this is going to be a new segment that we call
Football.
Dex Watches the Film. Declan Goff stayed up late on Saturday night.
I did.
To watch film. Did you watch just the live film of BYU's Zach Wilson, or did you go back and intricately break down the all 22? What was your process before we get your thoughts on Zach Wilson?
I watched the game live. I had a couple Corona hard seltzers for the first time in my quarantine. I avoided alcohol for 7 days. I don't know if I've ever done that since becoming a legal 21-year-old adult. So that was a big moment for me just in general. But I cracked open a couple Corona hard seltzers. That was a 9:15 kickoff. So I was like, all right, I need a little something here to keep me going. So people need caffeine. I need seltzers. So I cracked open a couple Coronas, turned on the game live. I went back and watched a couple throws. I didn't go back and do all the 22 because I had a pretty good assumption of who this guy was after watching him live for 4 quarters.
I think Randy in Cottage Grove is the one that said you need how many players on an NFL sideline during active players? 46.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So he advocates looking at the all 92 film.
Last year, it was genius.
Because you got to make sure that you're catching all the body language on the sidelines. Too.
That's exactly right.
You don't want some pouty loser like Aaron Rodgers. Oh, team's down by 10. I'm going to pout. I want to see that on the all.
Or certain Vikings.
Yeah, well, it happens. So Declan Goff.
Here we go.
Amateur scout. Dex watches the film. What were your observations on potential Vikings draft candidate BYU's Zach Wilson?
Well, boys, this guy can play. Let me just start off with that. This guy can play. I think the number one thing that I was really impressed by was this kid's arm strength. The guy has an absolute cannon for an arm. And I'm thinking BYU. Yeah, I know Steve Young went there, but it's BYU.
Jim McMahon.
Yeah. It's got a long history of great quarterbacks.
One of the Detmers went there, right?
Yeah.
Ty Detmer?
Yes, one of the Detmers, yes.
But in my amazing lifetime of 27, almost 28 years, no one really does it for me from BYU. Jimmer Fredette from the basketball team? Who was the most notable last athlete from BYU over the last 15 years? I didn't really know.
Jimmer Fredette dropped 50 points in a Chinese league game one time.
Yeah, it was damn good. Played for the Sacramento Kings.
He was a G League wonder for a couple of years there.
Well, I was pretty. Actually, I just saw. Speaking of old tweets exposed, there was an old Declan Facebook status on Jimmer Fredette a couple days ago from 2012. So I definitely have some of those Jimmer Fredette takes that are saved.
Quit burying the report. What is the goods on this kid? We need to know. I don't care about Jimmer Fredette.
I love that he had a cannon. I also like that the BYU offense runs no huddle. So that, to me, I'm always impressed by that. Because I think that's really, you can translate that to the NFL game, because there's a lot of quarterbacks that look, and especially the college ones, they have the Bert and Ernie signs and all the hilarious things that go into play calling in college ranks. And here's Zach Wilson stepping in no huddle, just going from tempo to tempo, dropping bombs, dropping dimes. I was very impressed. I think the number one thing, this kid might be from BYU, but he was raised in a town that allows good footwork. So there's no footloose disease in Zach Wilson's game, okay? There's no footloose disease. The guy can move his feet. He can roll out on bootlegs. He can scramble for the first down.
Does he have happy feet, though? I'd be worried about him having happy feet.
I didn't notice any happy feet. I did not write down any negatives on the happy feet, but I was very impressed with this kid's footwork, that he was able to navigate in the pocket, roll out on bootlegs, also scramble for first downs. I thought that was a big plus.
Judd, you watched some of that game too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he made a throw. He dodged a couple defenders on one throw.
I saw one throw. The actual throw that impressed me the most by the kid was made on an incomplete pass, but it was a perfect pass. So the receiver, I think, was double covered, and Wilson was under pressure. He didn't step up. He ran up in the pocket a little bit, let loose with this gorgeous throw, and his feet were not set. So, I mean, this is, to Dex's point, this is pure arm strength.
Yeah, and the idiot BYU wide receiver can't catch the ball.
But I don't care. But I don't give a damn.
Cut that kid.
What I saw right there, that was an NFL throw on the money. And guess who does catch that ball? Justin Jefferson.
Yes, indeed.
Justin Jefferson.
Okay,
for a big play.
So let's keep going down this path. So you've sort of laid out the things that you've seen. What's the thing that stood out to you that you were maybe raising a red flag with? What are the red flags, Declan Goff?
The negatives.
Yeah, there was a couple negatives. I think he has a tendency to stare down receivers. especially when he knows the deep shots aren't there. I noticed that a lot. He has a tendency to not move his eyes. And when I'm being my amateur quarterback, I'm always looking for guys looking off and looking for the next play. When he sees his read, and this can be a problem with a certain quarterback in town right now, when the first read isn't there, what can you do? Can you adapt and get to the secondary read? So I think he has a little bit of an issue with staring down wide receivers. The second problem I noticed is, although he has good arm strength and he has good touch on the ball, there was a couple intermediate throws where I would have appreciated a little bit more zip on it, a little more hum on that football.
Really?
And I know there's some moments where sometimes, like, if you can throw, a 50-yard bomb through the air, you should have no problem seeing a guy 15 yards, pulling that old gunslinger and be able to fit it into a tight window. I noticed a couple throws where either he had a guy open or he was leading a wide receiver and he took a little too long to get there. So there are some flags to his game. So I think those were the two negatives that really stood out to me.
Short throws or what?
Short throw, yeah, like the 5 to 15 yards, like the short to intermediate throws. I love his touch on the ball for a bomb, but there were some short to intermediate throws where I noticed either he was staring down a wide receiver or you need to put a little bit more zip on it.
So would you guys rather have the guy that just can sling a ball 70 yards over those mountains like Uncle Rico, and he's very hit or miss on the 10-yard throws, or the opposite? A guy who like sometimes Teddy Bridgewater's the opposite, right? Where he'll cock back the throw and it's like it rolls end over end. Peyton Manning was kind of like that too. I'll take the intermediate accuracy if I had to choose one or the other.
I think something that it reminded me of a little bit of Josh Allen and the fact that, yes, he can throw a good deep ball, right? Like, we all know Josh Allen can throw a ball 60, 70 yards, no problem. But can he make the good throws intermediately, and can he be accurate in those short window throws? And I think he's not a perfect comp for him by any means, but he did remind me a little bit of him.
Okay, that's a good segue. My last question for you here. Dex watches the film BYU's Zach Wilson. After watching him a couple seltzers in, you watched him for 3 hours. Gun to the head, who is the NFL comp?
Ooh, gun to the head. Right now, I did not think of the NFL comp, but I think it probably is.
There's some mobility, Allen. Right? Josh Allen?
I think it is Josh Allen.
Wait. Did he have a problem with zip or accuracy? Because the deep ball that the receiver didn't catch was incredibly accurate. That's not Allen. That's not him. So, but if you're talking about a problem with the progression on reads and zip, that's actually fixable. Right. If he can't hit the broadside of a barn, that's not fixable.
No, I think it's more of the zip. He's definitely more accurate, I think, than Josh Allen is. But there was great just with the way he because Josh Allen can move his feet too. I mean, Josh Allen's a very good running quarterback as well. So I think that's where I kind of put those two together. But and a lot of big boards have him still in between that 20 and 30 range. No one has him yet in the top 15 or top 10. Obviously, we've seen guys stock rise very close to after the college ranks. We've seen guys like Teddy Bridgewater, who was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick, fall all the way to 32 because he has a horrible pro day. So there's a lot of time that can really shift up his spot in the draft order. But if the Vikings are they're picking 10th, I believe right now, if the draft started today, I don't think
Tankathon.com is down. You want to talk about national conspiracies? Tankathon.com is down right now. Damn it!
Oh my God!
What? So what's going on with this country?
I think the latest mock draft had hit on Tankathon yesterday. Had him going to the Chicago Bears.
Wow.
Okay, I do not like that idea. I do not like that one bit.
I don't like it for who? For the Bears or the Vikings are going to let their quarterback get away?
For the Vikings.
No, but I think the fact that the Bears are going to draft him just automatically means he's going to be crappy and a free agent in 4 years.
So
this kid intrigues me. I'm very intrigued, guys.
I think he has a better. I think if you're asking me who has a better chance of moving up as the presumed number 3 quarterback off the board, because we know Fields and Lawrence are 1 and 2. I think he has a better chance of jumping up than Trey Lance does, just because I think with what he's been able to do this season. Remember, Trey Lance has only played the 1 game.
Yeah, Trey Lance is only going to fall at this point, unless he'll go to the combine and put up some ridiculous numbers.
That could definitely change that for Trey Lance.
Because even Carson Wentz, he had good pro days and good things like that vaulted him up. He had the season of a body of work to move him up to number 2. I think Trey Lance, if people have him at 7, 8 right now, I don't see him going up anywhere more than that.
What do we think about the fact that Zach Wilson,
the BYU kid, just go with the BYU kid. It's what the show calls him.
What do we think about the fact that he looks like a 12-year-old with a headband?
Are you talking about Zach Wilson or Declan Goff?
No offense.
He looks like Declan. Who cares?
He literally looks like he hasn't shaved yet, and he's 20.
I don't care.
Look at this beard I am rocking right now. I haven't shaved.
Actually, you know what, though?
Testing positive.
You know what? Phil's point is going to be proven true. Do you realize Trey Lance and the BYU kid, do you realize that they ultimately are going to be partially judged on questions like, do you like dogs or donkeys more? I'm dead serious. Like, Trey Lance has played one game. They're going to put him through the ringer of blue sky or gray sky. And then teams are going to be like, oh, that means something. Let's judge him on that.
Yeah.
I like the kid. I think he's got potential. And if Dex's points are true, I think what Declan's talking about are fixable things. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't throw accurately, you're probably just in trouble.
You know, it's funny when you go back and cross-reference just some of the scouting reports on like Pat Mahomes and other quarterbacks that had flaws, right? And I'm not comparing Zach Wilson to Pat Mahomes by any means yet, but the big knock on Pat Mahomes was he's got a big arm, but he's kind of reckless and he's not very accurate, right? It's like, all right, well, he either fixed that in the first year sitting behind Alex Smith, or it was all overblown anyways.
Yeah.
And it was just.
Or the one thing that we never discuss across the board enough in this discussion to me is this one: coaching. Like, we don't. Like, we're always like, well, the Bears, you know, he just got to the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky sucks. Does he really suck? I mean, does Daniel Jones suck, or is he with a team? And I'm not saying he's great.
I think Daniel Jones is a bust. But yeah, your point's taken.
But the point being is we never say, you know, that coaching staff might have just been plain brutal.
Absolutely.
Darnold.
Sam Darnold's the prime example.
He's being ruined. He's being actively ruined.
Yeah. Did you see who was it? The Jets linebacker who got traded yesterday, and he changed his. I think it was his Twitter, like the top banner image on your Twitter account.
Yep.
And I don't think this was a Photoshop job. It was like him in a full Jets uniform standing on the sidewalk, like hailing a taxi cab. It's just like, get me the hell out of here. That's right awesome. Now. So, all right, final question for you guys here. Dex watches the film BYU Zach Wilson. Let's say the Vikings are picking like between 10 and 15, which it probably looks like it's headed that direction at this point, right? They're going to go like 6 and 10 or something, and they're going to draft 14th. If they were to select him as the fourth quarterback off the board in the middle of the first round, how would you guys feel about that?
Declan, go ahead. You got him.
Right now, I wouldn't be too upset by it. And I know there's a fear in us and there's a phobia in us from the Christian Ponder reaching at number 12 9 years ago. So
that's what I'm getting at.
So naturally, there's a pause there. But I think you also, to Rick's credit, he took the shot at the quarterback and it didn't work. And it didn't shipwreck the franchise by any means. There's a lot of punching bags with Christian Ponder, and he deserves it. But I respect the chance that he took the shot at the quarterback. So if Zach Wilson is, 25th on Kuiper's big board, and the Vikings are picking 14th, if he's there, do it, man. Do it.
I am for shoot your shot. I don't know if I trust Rick. I don't know if Rick is capable of judging QB play. Teddy was Norv's guy. Okay. And Norv, for all Norv's faults, Norv had a good eye for that position. Mm-hmm. But that being said, if I take out the Rick part of the equation and you just ask me, would I shoot my shot on the BYU kid? My answer is yes, I would.
I would too. I think the question is, so here's the way I look at it. Obviously, like, they have a lot more scouting information, and Declan has a lot more scouting information than we do here.
And Corona
but
Seltzer.
Whoever you think the top 6 quarterbacks are in the draft, get one of them.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And if it and then it comes down to splitting hairs. Like, all right, are the first 3 or 4 off the board, and you're picking in the first round, and you really didn't have that guy graded as a first round quarterback, and so now it comes down to like, are you reaching in the first round for a second round talent? I'm almost just kind of done with that stuff. They just need a talented young quarterback that doesn't make $33 million. Mm-hmm. So if they have to reach a little bit in the first round to take a shot on a guy that could be the most important player the next 10 years, I'm okay with the percentage chance that they whiff. That's where I'm at with it. So
I think that's fair.
And maybe Zach Wilson is higher than fit. Maybe some teams have him as the second best quarterback on the board.
If you are right, you have solved a problem for years. And let's say that you say going into the draft, the gamble is too big. All right. So instead, we're going to get creative. We're going to take another cornerback. And I am all for if you need a first-round corner, that's fine.
You do not need a first-round corner.
But what I'm saying,
you have 9.
What I'm saying is if you hit on the quarterback, you've hit on a position for 8 to 10 years, and it solved all of your problems for the most part.
Yes.
If you hit on the cornerback, that's great, and he's good. But on the scale of, oh my gosh, this changes my franchise, it's probably a 2 or 3, right?
Yes.
The quarterback is probably an 8 to a 10.
We had someone I can't remember if I tweeted something about the BYU kid a couple days ago on Twitter. And I think I alluded to, hey, we're gonna have Declan. We're gonna unleash Declan. He's gonna watch the film all night tonight. First response back on Twitter, which obviously isn't representative, was, can he play offensive line? And I totally get that argument from Vikings fans because the offensive line has been a problem, and it was really good against Green Bay. But do you want, when I watch Zach Wilson and I think of the best possible version of him, if he were to go to the NFL and be the best possible version of him, which is a big arm down the field, mobility, a guy that can get away from pressure, right? That's the type of guy that makes it so that you don't need a perfect 5-man offensive line. You can get away with having Pat Elflein at guard because your quarterback can move out of the way. Even last night, Tom Brady is like 45. Tom Brady is an old man playing football. Tom Brady is almost Judd's age, for God's sakes. Now, he's also spent like a quarter of his life in hyperbaric chambers and eats kale for every meal.
You don't know what I do away from the studio, okay? So don't bring that up.
And even last night, I'm watching Tom Brady, and he's like just slightly more mobile than a tree stump.
Right,
but even he's able to sort of strafe left and right and avoid pressure. So if you've got either a great pocket passer who senses the pressure, which Kirk doesn't, or you just have a guy that can get away from the pressure, it makes it so that you don't have to have a perfect offensive line. So that's where I stand. It fixes other problems.
And the question back to you on Twitter should have been, can he pitch?